Welcome back to Village in Motion this Thursday, the 24th of September. We're glad that you stayed with us, and that we're going to be talking about General Services Committee with two of our General Services people. First will be Greg Parks, who is the Council Liaison to Community Services.
Morning, Clint.
Good morning, Greg. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
And then also Wally Oakes, who is the Chair of of General Services Committee for the Resident Council. And we're just very glad to have both of you with us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
What's going on with General Services?
Great. Well, we have a lot going on, Clint,
Okay.
and I'd like to show you who our committee is.
That sounds like a great idea.
So if we could have our first slide.
There we go.
So these are the members of our committee, and we have a total of 20 on the committee. Note that Wally Ox is the chairman. Bob Gulrich is our secretary, and we have a backup secretary, Pat Lorette. I'm the liaison, and as liaison, I provide information to the committee from the council, and also I take information from the committee to the council.
And we really rely on you to do that, to be that conduit back and forth.
Absolutely. But I don't run the committee. Wally Ox is the one who runs the committee, and we made that clear very early on that he's the one who is in the hot seat.
It's in charge, right?
That's right.
With his help.
Yeah. But Wally's been doing a superb job. Really has a neat committee.
He has done a wonderful job.
Thank you.
He's been able to control the meetings very well. He also organized at the very beginning and kept things going and moving. You know, our committee represents 9 different buildings on the campus.
That's right.
We do have 2 though that are sort of 5 are from Jackson Court and 4 from Oak Hill.
Oh.
But otherwise, it's generally representative of the others. So 9 buildings. Let's take a look at the second slide. Where the committee is broken up into subcommittees, and we have 5 subcommittees. They meet monthly with the relevant managers, and I emphasize relevant managers because the subcommittees meet with not just the director, but each of the managers of the divisions of General Services, which has not been done before. It wasn't done in the previous years. Right. So to me, that was a really major improvement in the operation.
I think that's a real advantage, and everybody gets to hear truly from the horse's mouth what's going on and the assistance they need in being able to share information back and forth.
And the managers are able to get inputs in that you know, they probably would not have, and also to hear from us that they wouldn't have heard either. Right. If they'd have heard, it would have been secondhand.
And I just really congratulate Wally on putting those in place, those subcommittees in place.
It's a big change from the previous years. I was on the other 2 General Services committees in previous years, so I understand that. And it's fostered a spirit of cooperation and working together with the management team.
And it really is a nice give and take between management and residents, and everybody's able to get input from the other.
It is.
And that's the great thing.
So I'd like to have Wally talk about the subcommittees.
Okay.
All right, I'll go through the 5 subcommittees quite quickly, but the first one, if we put up the first slide on maintenance, engineering, and grounds, and that subcommittee, that's kind of obvious. The title pretty much covers everything. They met with Lynn Keefe most of the time, as well as Scott Sullivan after Scott was named the senior facilities manager. And they had very good meetings and very productive meetings, and it was a great thing. At the bottom of the slide are the people. Peggy White was the chairman of that committee. And the next subcommittee was transportation, and Dave Vinensky, if you put that up, Dave Vinensky was the chairman of that, and they met with Derek Macaret and Ken Whiting quite every month, I think. Yes. And most of these subcommittees met every month and so on. And that was a good subcommittee, and they're obviously transportation. They covered items including the metro and the shuttles and the special trips and the vehicles and those sort of things.
Wally, I'm going to interrupt you just one second.
Surely.
You're talking about them, they met as opposed to they still are meeting.
Yeah.
because they
still are meeting.
They still are meeting, and I just really stress that they started in January, and all the committees go through November.
Right.
In regards to it, and so
Very
they still
important.
have 2 months left of meeting.
That's right, and they have some activities going. For instance, transportation has a bus coming later in October,
Right.
they hope, and it's pretty well set now. The
Good.
date, I think, from Oak Crest,
Yes.
Oak Crest,
Right.
for us to all look at and see if it's what we should be ordering. That sort of bus
And
in the future.
Transportation really wants resident input to it.
That's right.
They want people to look at it and write on it.
Yes.
Because it might be the bus that is ordered, it may not be, but they want that input to decide, which way to go.
Okay. The next subcommittee is security and safety, and of course that subcommittee is security. Ben, I would murder his name, I think, so I'll if you know who I'm talking there. Very nice gentleman who they met with quite often. And the chairman of that committee was Peyton Walker, and I don't think there's any need to go through. They get into speed limits and EMVs and all those kind of activities, and they had a good subcommittee.
And Wally, again, I'm going to stop you for a second and encourage everyone to come to the general services, the general council for the residents on Monday, this coming Monday, because we're going to have Ben, who is the manager of security, and again, I will not try to pronounce his last name, who's going to be giving us a special presentation for about 15 minutes in regards to security. So I encourage everyone to come to General Council on Monday, Academic Room, 1:30, and hear what Ben has to say.
And not only that, but you're going to recognize the General Services Committee that day.
That's exactly right. And that's very, very important to say thank you for all the work they've done.
Thank you. All right, the next slide and the next subcommittee is Telecom and Communication Services, and chairman of that subcommittee is Herb Bartlett, as you see down at the bottom of the slide. And Betty Murphy was the liaison to the Communications Committee from that subcommittee, and there was a lot of interaction between the Communications Committee and this subcommittee. And they did quite a lot of work on preparing information and so on, which we'll go into later on. Michelle Gomensky met with them quite often, and they met with her for our various activities. As far as environmental services, the next slide, that was our last subcommittee. That was the 5th one, and Daniel Chrisman was that subcommittee chairman, and his group met with quite a number of people, often with Lynn Keefe and with Mendel Fletcher, who is now not with us anymore, who was the senior housekeeping manager, and with Scott Sullivan. There was an environmental advisor to that subcommittee that was not a member of the committee, but helped them quite a bit on some of the environmental matters. It was Bob Bouchard. And I didn't mention under the Telecom and Communications Committee, Bill Raymond was the IT advisor for that subcommittee, and that was very important and very helpful to the subcommittees.
And, and what's important with, additionally to that is it's the first time that we've ever had advisors that were not truly a member of the committee, but they were advisors to a committee, and I think it's a great idea.
And it was very helpful.
Yeah.
It
And
worked out quite well.
This subcommittee also had the comment cards.
Yes.
And quality control. So that was a part. So this is a subcommittee that picked up the comment cards and went through them and responded.
Great.
Now, some of their accomplishments. The next slide lists a few of the subcommittees and the committee accomplishments. And the first one there, the parking one, Mr. Parks here, Gray, is going to cover in more detail. We just jump over that, and I'll go through these quite quickly. There quite a lot of information was prepared by the Telecom and Communications Committee on the TV to try to facilitate and help improve the understanding, especially of the remote and some of the other things. And then there was some assistance to the education that was developed, or the training that they developed related to the remotes. There's also some assistance with the form, the resident form comments. We tried to help General Services develop some of that data and evaluate with them how the progress was being made. And then as far as transportation, adjustments in the schedule, and grounds, building, and housekeeping improvements, there was various suggestions made along the line. Front desk improvement, there was quite a lot from the Communications Committee that changed things in the front, or that suggestions for the front desk. And then evaluating the security concerns, especially for emergency incidents that they were working on. So the parking one was quite an important one, and this is kind of fresh on everybody's mind because it's going to be implemented quite quickly. And we last year there was a parking plan developed, and when our new head came in of the Ben, when he came in, he wanted that plan reviewed and evaluated and kind of looked at again. So we developed an ad hoc committee to do that, and Earl Williams was the chairman of that. And it developed, actually there were 2 non-committee members that we named. The last 2 there on the list, Jiggs Callinger and Larry Ayers, were not members of our committee, but we wanted to get a broad perspective of people on this ad hoc committee. So we named 5 people, and this was with General Services that we named these people. And
well, we're down to our last. We're down to our last minute, so we need the next slide. The major parking assessment recommendations, and these are now being implemented. The parking spaces will be painted by November the 1st, and I think some of the important ones are the all covered parking spaces in the 2 resident garages will be reserved. They will cost the current fee, and as a result, the cost of uncovered reserved parking will be reduced to $30 a month. And each resident with a legal car can reserve a parking space. That's no more married couple having only 1 reserved spot. Any person who has a legal car on campus, which means it's registered and so forth, can have a reserved parking space. Those are the main things on that, and so I would like to wind up by saying that Wally, I do say that he has done a wonderful job with the committee, and I would encourage all residents. You know, it's about time to sign up for a committee, and I would suggest that if you really want to make a change in Green Spring, that one of the go to a committee, get on the committee, and volunteer for one. It'll be coming up, I think, in October or November.
October, November.
And and I'm delighted with the committee members we had on the General Services Committee. They did a wonderful job. So thank you, Wally, and thank you, Clint, for having us.
Oh, well, thank you, both of you, for being here. As everybody can hear, is that the council committees are very active. The General Services Committee has been very active all year and has really produced some great things. And so we thank you. We thank you for your participation, and hope everybody signs up for our committee for next year. Folks, that's that part of the show, and we're going to move along here to